Well, hello there and welcome to Love and Life Elevated. I'm Dr. James.
Hi, I'm Dr. Debra.
And my goodness, how long has it been, honey?
Well, listen, everyone deserves a break. I'm not here to apologize. I'm just here to say we're back. And it's so great to be here again and just sharing a little bit about what's been going on and some feedback that we've been getting from the community, which is like so awesome and exciting. We love hearing from everyone, and that honestly is what's going to drive the conversation today. But before we get started, really, I want to give you, my beloved James, Dr. James, a huge shout out for encouraging our community to reach out, and really what we've come to know and to learn from our community is really what people are hungering for, and what honestly I believe you address on the day-to-day in the work, your life work, in your book Diem, in our inner circle. The messaging is so consistent and it's so needed. So thank you for educating all of us, and actually it leads me to want to dig deeper. And even for today, I prepped a little to learn more about the awesome, I hate to use the word information, but just the science and the spirit behind everything that motivates you. Thank you.
You know, honey, number one, I didn't expect you to do that. Thank you. And I just really want to put more energy into this community who we've been asking over the last number of weeks. Tell us what's moving for you, what's being hard for you, what you've set for intentions, and how it is that we as a community can remember that we are always better together. And really today's opportunity is sharing a lot about something that first came about 50 years ago, the self-determination theory.
Right.
Which is something that's connected to basically how is a life of fulfillment and purpose and well-being. It literally is the culmination of those things in a way that we can be leading our life to have greater opportunities to flourish in every area of our life. So I think you're going to love today's show.
And I definitely learned more about self-determination theory because I've heard you talk about it in the past. And I'm like, oh, I kind of know what that is. I think I know what that is. And so I also didn't know that it was 50 years ago that these two psychologists or psychotherapists actually came up with this idea. And you have talked about this this concept of agency and how important it is to have agency. And one of the things in self-determination therapy is actually autonomy. And I'm wondering if there's a difference. Do you feel like there's a difference between agency and autonomy, and how that ties into finding deeper presence and purpose in our day-to-day?
Yeah, well, this is a great question, and I'm going to share the way I've always looked at autonomy and agency versus what a lot of people will often go to. And I don't mean this in a judgmental way, but oftentimes we hear agency and autonomy, we maybe go, oh, it's about being independent. And that's not what it's about. This is about having the vulnerability to really go it alone based on the things that you value, based on what you believe gives you purpose, based on the things that give you a sense of who you are in the interdependence of the world, which is a key distinction. So you're not leaving the world, you're literally integrating with the belief that what you bring, your special gifts, your sacred sauce, your talents, the things that make you who you are, you feel that each and every day you have the space and the grace and the motivation and the courage and then the vulnerability to bring it into life.
Yeah, and the note that I took on it that I actually really love is being the author of our own lives. That's really what autonomy is. And here's another note I took, that we act from our own values, not out of guilt, pressure, or external rewards. That really hit because I think how often, gosh, I'm so guilty. Some of the work that I've done is it motivated by an external reward versus what you've talked about a lot as well, and that is intrinsic motivation. I feel like the two are really tied, autonomy and intrinsic motivation. What's driving you from the inside versus what's all, shiny and new out here. Let's look within.
And I think that's huge today, because so much of the way social media works, and frankly, the way that life feels like it asks more and more of us, we are constantly looking outside of ourselves for validation. How many likes we're getting? How much money are we making? How much public notoriety do we get? And then building from that place of what happens around us and being, if you will, driven by whether or not it works for the people around us versus is it coming from a place inside of us that we value, our virtue, our connection to our soul. and the days that we get a chance to show up and lead from our soul based on that intrinsic motivation. And what's key, the two people who brought this to life from University of Rochester, they are really connected to this idea. This is about well-being ultimately. And they talk ultimately about how it is that when you come from a place of intrinsic motivation, where you know this is what you have to bring to life to give you a sense of joy, to give you a sense of purpose, it is deeply connected to psychological well-being. But when we come from an extrinsic place, like how does it look to the world? Will the world accept me? Will the world really value what I do? That leads to a lot of emotional upheaval. In fact, it's connected to anxiety, it's connected to depression. So the foundation of having autonomy and agency, you having a feeling that you have inside of you something of worth to bring to life, is the foundation of our psychological well-being.
I want to get really uncomfortable with you for a minute and personal, if that's okay. And if not, we're going to cut and edit this portion. So we've been together over 30 years, and gosh, we've had so many ups and downs. And part of why we're talking about this today is because it's a real pain point for people, feeling like, they've lost their purpose or their presence. So I'm going back again to this word agency and how, in recent years and past years, there's been stress moments not necessarily in our relationship, but in our relationship with others, say, where we have felt that we're losing agency, we're losing autonomy, we're giving ourselves away, we're doing something that isn't calling to us anymore emotionally, spiritually. And given that you have been sort of in the public sector at least 2 decades, if not longer, you've been out there, and what I will say is you are someone that people gravitate toward. They see you and they're like, we want you on our team and come do this for us. And I imagine that feels really good.
Yes.
And it feels really great to be wanted. And as soon as someone's dangling something, come work with us and you're going to get this and we're going to give you this. And well, here's that. And so it's always it's so tempting. It's hard to say no. What sort of techniques are you using to determine whether something's totally aligned with your purpose? That's the first question. And when you're already in something where you're feeling like you're losing that agency, autonomy, what are you doing to reclaim that for yourself?
That is such a good question, and we will not edit this because it's so real. And I think for many people who hear what Deb just shared and then are kind of putting it through their own filter, their personal filter, a lot of people who are very connected to trauma and working through trauma, this is a big one for all of us who work through trauma. We're presently doing the work around trauma, recovery, and healing, is that we will give ourselves away once we believe someone values us. What is that we bring? What is that our energy? People sourcing, if you will, from us, because once we hear, oh my gosh, we have value, once someone wants us, we will literally, oftentimes based on trauma, literally displace our purpose, our values, and the things that we believe in to actually please the people who are showing us that they want us. That can happen in intimate relationships, it can happen in business, it can happen in all kinds of different communities. And one of the things that self-determination theory talks about is 2 other pieces on autonomy and agency. It talks about the fact that competence is huge. We'll talk about that. And thirdly, growth mindset.
And relatedness.
And how it is that we have an opportunity to really filter through when we're kind of feeling pulled to do something based on our ego or based on a trauma response versus, is this making us feel a sense of wholeness, a sense of peace, a sense of purpose? An even deeper question, do I feel at peace with this? When I really put it through the filter of what's coming from the outside, when I bring it into my heart and ask myself a simple question, does this give me peace? Is this true for me? Is this authentically me bringing my gifts and talents to this experience, or am I putting my true self behind in order to please what's being asked of me?
Okay, so I'm going to drill down again. So then what do you do when you realize this isn't serving me. I'm not feeling aligned. I'm not growing. I'm not learning. I'm I'm just living in a lower level than I know I'm capable of.
You got to call yourself up, not call yourself out. That's a really important distinction. Calling yourself out usually means that you're going to diminish yourself. You're going to say something like, we've probably all been in relationships where we said something like, it's not you, it's me, right? It's not you, it's me. This is why this relationship isn't working. You'll literally take it and kind of assume all the guilt and all the problems versus when it's just not working, the dynamic. So one of the things that I'm really working at in my life, this is present tense work, is being vulnerable enough to let someone know or let a group know, I'm changing. This isn't working any longer. I've left a lot of business relationships based on the fact that the dynamic in the group wasn't filling my heart anymore. It initially did, maybe because I was coming from a place of trauma or a place of inauthenticity. But ultimately, I think as we're growing and evolving and becoming more related to our vulnerability and ownership of our story, we will find that we have the power, hopefully the courage, to call ourselves up versus out. When we call ourselves up, we're just basically going to relate to the group or the person and say, I am not feeling this is healthy for me anymore. I give myself away versus feeling myself coming closer to myself. When we can be vulnerable like that, and you'll find quickly, if you can't be vulnerable like that, if you're judged for that vulnerability, that level of authenticity and that ownership of your truth, then you really know that relationship is no longer part of your healthy spectrum.
So good, so good. I want to just talk about the second mention of self-determination theory that you talked about, and that was competence. And that's that that drive. It's not that ability, right? What would you say? It's like the drive to grow and to learn and to pursue meaningful work and to master your skill set. What else am I missing with that?
I think you hit them all, sweetheart. I mean, competence is literally, you have an understanding of the things that bring you to life, the things that you really, really find joy in, the things that really augment your purpose, the things that help you feel more powerful and more like your intrinsic opportunities are flourishing. That isn't something that's static. And I think anyone who's ever created anything amazing in their life, a great quality of life, an awesome relationship, a super cool business, it's because you continually saw the areas in your life that you loved and you want to continually get better at. You want to refine them. And why DM is such a perfect complement to this.
I was going to talk about DM.
Well, it's so perfect for this because DM was written to give people a whole bunch of different tools that have been scientifically proven to help us build our self-efficacy, our sense of competence, our sense of confidence. The way in which we go into every single day is competence waiting to happen. And the more that we set an intention, or we have a goal in our life, or a value, and then we step into it and literally work at it, practice it, love it, bring it to life, this is how it all starts to happen. And this is why I think this work on self-determination theory is so personal for you, for all of us. Think about the things that you love that you sometimes go, well, I'm just good at this naturally. Well, that isn't going to help our psychological well-being. We have to love it enough to continually grow at it, right? To evolve at it. And the research is so clear. When we commit to a daily practice or practices that bring this to light and help ourselves evolve, every part of our life improves. Relationships, our opportunity to create professional success, and at a very deep level, our spirituality, our emotional well-being, our physicality literally flourish with competence. The work and the dynamic work that happens under the influence of continual evolution.
Wow, you really memorized that book, didn't you? You really wrote that, didn't you? Yeah, I just echo that the practices, that the daily practices are what build competence and confidence. It's the movement, it's the mindfulness, and you nailed it.
Well, a lot of people, I think, will hear this and go, well, what are the days when you don't feel like it? What are the days when you kind of go, well, I'd love to go and do that exercise protocol or do my meditation, but my mind is not in a good place for it, so I'll wait till I'm actually feeling better.
Yeah, I'll do it later. I'll do it today when I have more energy.
This is such an important thing. What we know about self-determination theory, and frankly what we know about confidence, creativity, joy, and flourishing in life, that's the most important day to do it when you don't feel like it. You will have higher highs, of course, in the days you're feeling awesome, but the days you're not feeling so awesome, you'll have a higher low. And when you get a chance to witness yourself following through when you don't feel like it, it has an exponential force multiplier on every aspect of our life. When we show up and we don't feel like it is literally one of the most powerful practices that will have so many other implications of how our life will grow, that if we can give ourselves that opportunity to not want to be feeling like it, but doing it regardless of how we feel.
Do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
Yeah. And the third part of the self-determination theory is that relatedness, that connectedness. And I know that in our inner circle right now, we're really getting into community and connectivity and building it. And it's incredible. And I love how it feels. And this is the antidote to loneliness, right? And this also builds that sense of confidence, that sense of connection that we need more than ever right now.
Yeah, and I think relatedness sometimes goes, well, what do I really have to bring to the world that's worthy? This is so beautiful because relatedness can happen in different ways. It can happen spiritually, like your relationship with something greater than yourself. Relatedness can happen with nature. You walk out in the world and you head into the woods. You just get yourself in a place where there's a tree, where there's greenery. Research shows that our nervous system regulates, gives us relatedness to our surroundings. A third thing can be a simple environment. What are the people you allow in your environment? What is the art? What is the media? All of this is relatedness. And then ultimately, it's the community that we decide we are worthy of stepping into. And if you're feeling like your present community isn't serving those areas in your life, it becomes the most heroic and vulnerable thing we'll ever do. I can tell you when I decided the community of addiction was no longer working for me nearly 40 years ago, it was one of the hardest things I could ever do because so much of my relatedness was happening with people who were still actively in it. And for me to pull myself out, it was a lonely, scary thing. In fact, it felt like it was life-threatening. But ultimately, it gave me the life I have today. And I think all of us have to look around and do a kind of a fearless inventory. Environment, present tense, people, media, all these places where you relate with, are you getting a relatedness that's true to you? Is it really helping your authenticity and your truth to be a channel that is effortless because what's around you is reflective of who you are on the inside? This is a big one for people today because there's so much toxicity in the world. And so many of us have stories and chapters of our story connected to things that we no longer want to be about. Well, hopefully today gives you an opportunity to consider, how do I actually turn the page on this? And what are the things I'm willing to do? Where's my courage, my willingness, my openness to bring that agency and autonomy and that competence to bring the practices to life so my relatedness to truly what's going on in my heart has an opportunity to flourish?
Yeah, and I would add not being afraid to really go deep and looking for that soul-to-soul connection. Because it's easy to have surface connections with everyone, anyone, at the grocery store or whatever, even having a phone call. But if all you're talking about is the weather or whatever is going on politically, like that's not truly a deep connection that is going to help you feel more connected, more related to others.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about vulnerability. We want to see it in others because it makes us feel amazing. But it's the hardest thing we will bring to others. Yeah. Right? Because it's the ultimate exposure.
Yeah.
Here I am bringing my deepest truth, my core, out for someone to look at and to sense and to feel and potentially judge or even dismiss. That's why it's so important that the autonomy and agency and the competence is a foundation for you as you step into your relatedness. You are going to survive those challenging conversations. You will overcome that relationship going away. And you will continually moving into that place where you're gaining more and more of what it is that brings you to life. And how self-determination theory plays a role into every area of your life. The science is there. We get a chance now to put it to work.
And that's honestly what sparked this conversation today, right? That we hear from you like, I'm so busy, I'm productive, I'm getting all this stuff done, but I'm feeling empty. Like it is not serving my soul, it's not serving my purpose, I'm not moving that needle in all those areas of self-determination. So hopefully you'll take to heart this idea of just practices, setting forth practices for yourself so that you know how you're beginning and how you're ending every single day to establish that rhythm, establish that community, establish that connection.
Absolutely. So maybe one thing that you can leave with today, that if you're going, oh, this sounds interesting, this sounds very personal, this is where I have work to do, here's one practice you can bring to life today. Look at your day. Look at the way that you have disciplined and structured your day. And give yourself permission to choose 1, 2, or 3, 4 practices that you know really do serve your soul, put them into your day, put a time next to them. When are you going to do them? Let that be the beginning. Because what we do know is once we begin a practice and we start having success, we see ourselves following through. It actually almost like a flywheel. We gain momentum. That intrinsic motivation starts to fuel the next things, the next things. And then we start to become incredibly mindful and very, very present with these experiences of agency and competence. And as those things start to build in us, it literally helps us to curate ways in which we start to become transcendent in the way that we lead our life. Not only is this something you're going to go, oh my gosh, this isn't something that's going to take years to accomplish. I promise you, you start today by bringing some structure in, placing some practices that really serve your heart, your mind, your soul. You will feel tonight a greater sense of peace. You'll feel a greater way when you wake up tomorrow morning, a sense of purpose, a sense of opportunity, and an invitation each and every day to say, this is how I'm structuring my day. This is what my SDT is really all about. And I trust that this community that we're building together will flourish more because we become demonstrations of the thing that's in our heart that we want to bring to life. And ultimately, that's what intrinsic motivation is all about. I want to bring something to life that benefits more than just my life. I want my life to be a catalyst for all the lives that I'm blessed to be a part of and have that be a radiant exemplar to give us all permission to step into the next evolution of who we came here to be.
Love that word, exemplar. And I would remind you to take 90 seconds 3 times throughout the day to take a BB, a breath break, and just sit quietly and do some deep breathing practices. And then to reflect at the end of the day, did something within me move today, or did I just move through the day? Did something move within me today, or did I just move through the day? And maybe that's something, along with your gratitude practice, that you can just write down what moved in me today.
So I think as a closing opportunity, we'll look to you. What about today's conversation made you feel at home? What made you feel scared? What made you feel like, oh my goodness, I know I need to do this, but I need to be reminded of this every single day. Whatever it is that's moving for you, please share. And trust that it's moving for us too. This is why we brought this conversation to us all today, to hopefully become possibilitarians in a world right now. It seems like it's restricted and somewhat, how should we say, scary to step into who we are and to feel like we're alone when we do. You're not alone. And this is what this program and this is what this community has always wanted to be about. So let's do the great work of our life. Let's do what we came here to do.
Thank you. And don't wait. Dive in right now.
So we'll see you next Wednesday. Much love. Every blessing. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.
Bye.